What's up, guys? Welcome to the second episode of the Justin Odisho podcast. Someone on Twitter said I should call it the Justin Od Show, so we're going to play around with that. But today we actually have our first guest on the show. He is a fellow YouTube creator, also makes awesome tutorials on a lot of the same stuff I do. A YouTube OG, he's been on the platform since 2006, maybe earlier as far as I know. Editor, photographer, creator, all that. He is Nathaniel Dodson, aka Tutvid. You guys might know him as Tutvid. Little audience applause.
What's
up, man? Welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. I'm pumped to be the first guest.
Yeah. So if you're not following on Twitter, you watched the first episode, and thank you to everyone that watched the first episode all the way. There was I thought nobody was gonna watch it, but there was a good dozen people that watched it all the way.
Yeah, it was a good show. It was. Normally, I'm one of those guys who gets 70% through a lot of YouTube videos, and then it's sort of all right, ready to pass this one over. But I listened to whatever it was, 53 or 59 minutes.
It was 58. I was trying to hit the hour mark for my solo shows, and I messed that part up. But
yeah. Well, and like every true YouTuber, the videos you think will do the worst end up doing much better than you ever expect.
Yeah, so we just had a bit of a warm-up chat. That was really good, but as soon as you put the recorder on, it's like you're under pressure. But we were talking about there's a lot of notes I have written down here, actually, so I guess I'll just get into them because I do have to remember that not everyone... I've been following you for a long time because we kind of do the same thing, but, maybe not everyone knows who you are, so I introduced you a little bit, but if you were to introduce yourself to someone who's first hearing about you right here, give us a quick intro to, what would you say you do?
I would say that, if I'd introduce myself to somebody for the first time, and specifically the channel, Tutvid, Tutvid, if you're interested in design or visual stuff, whether that's graphic design, photography, videography, video editing, you'll find something you like on the channel. I mean, that's kind of what it's geared to. I kind of take everything I'm interested in. I do love web design as well, but that's a little bit too much to wrap into the channel as well because coding is its own beast. But any sort of visual art stuff that I enjoy, whether it's, calligraphy, which I haven't really done anything on calligraphy yet, but maybe someday, all the way through to, photography and retouching photos, graphic design, print layout stuff. I try to really touch on all of it over on the channel, including Premiere Pro stuff, and I'm getting ready to start doing every other week an After Effects tutorial as well, which is kind of sort of how we bumped it. Actually, no, we bumped into each other through Photoshop stuff. Yeah,
actually, we actually did a collaboration. If a lot of people probably don't know, if you go on my channel, there's a playlist called Collaborations, and you can see both the video on Nathaniel's channel and my channel. We did a little Photoshop tutorial, and that is how we bumped into each other. Yeah, I knew your channel before that.
That was a while ago. It feels like it was a long time ago.
Yeah, and that's calling back to the first podcast. That was maybe a year ago, you think?
Yeah,
it was about 8 months ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Yeah, calling back to the first podcast, I mentioned how there was a time where I just was going all in, reaching out to every single person I could. You were one of the only people that responded, especially my channel was smaller at the time. I'm sure more people respond now, but you were one of the only people that responded, and
I think you had less than 100,000 subscribers.
No, I had 60,000.
Yeah,
60. Yeah, about 60,000.
You got to be able to recognize talent coming up. You know what I mean?
All right, we're not gonna kiss each other's butts here.
In all seriousness, though, I had a photographer, Douglas Saunders, who's a commercial photographer. He was based out of DC and New York City. I think he's out in LA now. He's all over the place all the time. He's actually a great follow on Instagram. One of the things that he said that has always stuck with me was, and I'm 27. I'm not saying I'm 50 years old. I'm getting ready to get out of this game or anything. But it was there's always somebody younger and hungrier than you are. So instead of kicking dust in the kids' faces, try to lift people up and help other people out. Like, just because somebody wants to be subscribed to your channel doesn't mean they can't be subscribed to mine, you know. And just because somebody subscribed to mine, like, why can't I send subscribers to you? You know, it doesn't have to be this game where it's like, oh no, Justin is seeing success, I need to find a way to tear him down, or you know, this other person.
And I wasn't seeing success.
Well, but look at how, you know what I mean? Like, it was, you know, I mean, you could argue whether or not any of us are successful, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you're way beyond 60,000 subscribers down.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like I looked at it like, oh, this kid's gonna make it big, and I'm gonna demand 10% someday.
No. Yeah. No. And I follow the same mindset as you, because I've done a podcast with one of my subscribers who has like no subscribers. I just like the kid and I think he's like a good kid. I've literally spent like 3 hours on Skype with him and did a podcast for his podcast that he's trying to start up. So I'm definitely not one of those type of people either, because to that point, a lot of people that kind of, I do get a chip on my shoulder though, as bad as that is, I guess. But a lot of people that like brushed me off or ignored me, or like, oh yeah, you know, you can give me your ideas and I'll get back to you. Yeah. A lot of the same people like emailed me after constantly like, hey, when are we gonna work together? Right. I'm a little petty, but
yeah, no, but I know what you're saying. It's kind of like, you didn't give me the time of day, man. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And what you're doing is smarter, because like, let's say someone like me does end up, you know, there's more value to it than just the video that we created, because the videos that we created, I think they're not doing bad. I think they both have like 10,000 views compared to when we first put them out, but there's more value to the collaboration and to anyone out there who wants to collaborate than the one piece of video that you make together, because then we've established a relationship and a connection. And then let's say I start something like this podcast, or you need help with something, or you need someone else that's in the similar community like me, I can support your stuff and you can support my stuff, and it's just more beneficial for everybody, you know, rather than thinking very short-mindedly.
Yeah, and I think like the most valuable thing on YouTube isn't views, it's not subscribers, it's not the money. Like the most, and maybe this goes for pretty much any business, the most valuable thing out there is people. You know, and if you can make those connections, like genuine connections, not just like, oh, this guy would be great for my company, like those kind of relationships, you might blow up quick and then you're going to burn out quick too. You know, it's like you're going to be that bright shooting star that burns so bright but then is dead and everybody forgets about you, you know, metaphorically. And it's, you know, I mean, you might be, you could have been the next Jake Paul of Premiere Pro tutorials or something, getting 100 million views a month.
And that's a good point. And that's a good point too, like considering the different ceilings of things. But I totally forgot what I was going to say, and it was a really poignant point. But
that's podcasting for you.
Going back to, I'm still roughening out the edges here as a podcast host, conversator, interviewer, sorry. But actually going back to something you said earlier, you said when I asked you to introduce yourself, what do you tell people you do who, not online, not like my audience, what do you tell like the dude you met at the restaurant? What do you tell your waiter that asks? This is something that I've been struggling to figure out how to answer. Sometimes I say I make videos. Sometimes, you know. I tell
the normies, the non-YouTube people.
The normies, yes. What do you tell the normies?
I tell them that I run a digital publishing company for educational content.
That is so fancy. How long did it take you?
I don't know. It just came to me one day, and I was like, it's kind of what I do. But, you know, and if we get any deeper, I'm like, I just run a YouTube channel, and you know, and then I never try to like, oh, you know, I've got X number of subscribers.
Yeah,
you know?
No.
I'm this big deal, because that just seems like pretentious and douchey. But, you know, sometimes people go look me up and they'll be like, whoa, you didn't tell me you were famous. I'm like, well, with good reason, because I'm not famous. That's why I'm not telling you I'm famous. But it's either way, it's fun. I mean, usually people are just like, oh, wow, that's cool. You teach, you know. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's a good way to think about it. I teach.
Yeah.
And it's, you know.
Yeah, that's what I put in my bio now, because I was trying to figure out, like, all right, what is it? So I was like, okay, I'm an editor. I guess I'm a teacher, and I guess I'm a creator in general. So I put those three things in my Instagram. You know how everyone puts in their Instagram, like,
of course,
filmmaker, entrepreneur.
The real fun. I don't know if your grandparents are still around, but like when my grandparents ask me about like, so what did you
Some
think
of
you
them,
do? You know, and it's like trying to explain to my grandfather, well, I need to Snapchat something, and he's like, Snap what?
I don't think my grandma knows. My grandma still like doesn't. She just lectures me on like, why aren't you trying to find a job?
Yeah, well, that's the normie way of life.
No,
Man.
no. I remember. I just tell people I've been like figuring out my sentence. Like you seem like you have your sentence down. I've been trying to tell people like. I started out with I have a website. I have a website, and then that's always like,
well,
oh, cool.
that sounds super creepy too. Like,
yeah, I know.
Oh, I see what you're saying, Justin. Up there in Michigan with your website, huh?
Yeah. Then I said like I edit videos. I edit a lot of videos. I do a lot of video editing. And then they're like, what kind of videos do you edit? That sounds
even worse.
Yeah. So I think I've stuck with, I think the last one I did, some guy at the gym asked me, is I said, I teach people how to make videos and I make videos. Yeah. And he was like, oh, yeah. And then they're always like, oh yeah, maybe that can work for you someday.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It always I'm always curious about like me. I'm a curious person, so if anyone ever said that to me, I would dig a little deeper. But I always like wonder. Some people just don't dig deeper. They're just like, oh yeah, cool.
I think like, I think it was like a Tim Ferriss book. I think it was or no, sorry, Seth Godin. Yeah. He wrote a book called The Icarus Deception, which is an amazing, amazing.
I've read some of his books.
If you've never read it, it's of his books that I've read, far and away the best. It's just such a poignant book. I think it's so good when you consider the current state of like education, especially in America, but probably the majority of the Western world, and just so much of what goes on in business. But he makes this point in that book that he's talking about like business meetings and just like the stupidity of the boss coming in and saying, all right, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. We're going to do this other thing. Does anybody have any questions? Well, at that point, nobody wants to ask a question, right? Because then they're going to feel like they're usurping the authority of the boss or whatever. And he's kind of making this argument that the creative boss, the boss that wants to make art, is the one that comes in and says, you guys talk. Tell me what you think. But all of this to make the point that, leading back to your point about curiosity, it just like people are just afraid to ask like the question that would dare lead them outside the box of like mediocrity. And I don't use the term mediocrity disparagingly necessarily, but just like the idea that you can be radically different and successful. Most people are so terrified of it, because they either have student loans or they want that house, you know, with the 30-year mortgage, and they want to be able to lease a car and all this other stuff. And like I've always lived ever since I was like 12, like from a very young age, I remember thinking about this stuff, and I'm just like, I don't want to do all that stuff. Like I want to have freedom. I want to be able to even if I had to live like beneath my means, far beyond many other people around me. You know, most I'm 27. Most people, well, not most, but a good chunk of people my age who I'm friends with or like online friends with, they've gone and bought homes and all this other stuff. I'm still renting an apartment and, you know, my studio space here, but I'm comfortable with it because by the time I'm 40, I'm going to actually own my house. And it's going to be a maybe not a mansion, but it's going to be like my mansion.
Yeah, you have high goals. What I mean?
Yeah. Right, but it's like you're going to be paying off your mortgage till you're ready to retire, and you're going to retire and die. I don't want that to be – I don't want to live a life where I'm waking up every day to go to work to pay bills for stuff that I'm borrowing. I want to have the stuff that I have so I can have the freedom to do the stuff I want to do. And you know what? If I strike out, I'll live a life where I'm doing what I really want to do. And you know what? Yeah. I'm still making a living. I'm still getting by. You know, I'm still happy. Everyone around me is doing pretty well. And I'm happy with that. I don't need to go jump the gun at 25 years old and sink, you know, 30, you know, into a 30-year mortgage and you know, leasing a car and everything else, going to work for, you know, some big corporation that they don't give a crap about me. You know, I put on the dole and I'm just another number. Doing work that I hate to pay for a house that I'm sick of by the time I'm not even halfway done paying for it. So it's that kind of life that I'm just sort of like, not for me.
See, I'm the funny thing is like how I've written this down in my notes too, is that we must be similar because we've somehow fallen into doing like a similar thing, but I'm sure we're different too. But like you said, when you were 12, you already knew that you didn't want to do things that way. See, I don't know how concretely you knew, if you could write it down, but I always had the similar feeling, but I just didn't know, or I couldn't formulate it, or I didn't like recognize it until I always knew, like going through college, that I'm not going to go out and get a job with stuff. I just don't want to do that. I don't see myself like getting a job with like an office job and just like living the way everyone tells you you're supposed to. Mm. But only until I was like 22, 23, and I'm 24 now, did I figure out that, you don't have to do that, and you can be happy living your own path, and it's possible to do your own thing as well.
I think part of it too is like your upbringing. Like I came from a family, like my grandfather, my great grandfather on both sides, like my mother's father, for instance. He had his own business. My parents always had their own business. My father's father had his own business. My great grandfather on that side had his own business. And it was, I grew up in this family, and it was always construction stuff. And now here I am going off in this digital art and graphic design and photography, jaunt. But I always grew up around people who were like, yeah, you can start your own business and make it. And my grandparents did very well, if not for a few awful divorces in the family. They owned a massive amount of property down on the New Jersey shore that if they still had this day, I don't even know how much it would be worth. I know they literally owned blocks of houses. And they just had to sell it all off, and everything went away. But they did very well for themselves, and I don't know. I remember years and years and years ago when I first started my channel, there was another kid, and he actually just reached out to me again. Like we probably talked 9 years ago. He was getting ready to go to college, and he was like, I think we were both 18. So yeah, he was
like, you knew him from your...
No, I didn't know him personally. We had met like online on one of these Photoshop forums somewhere.
Oh yeah. Forums back in the day. I know. People don't know about forums nowadays.
Forums
how it all started.
Yeah, everyone was on forums.
The birthplace.
Yeah. So like we met there, and he grew up like out in St. Louis or Kansas City or somewhere out in the middle of the country. And I'll never forget the conversation, because he was telling me how dumb I was, because I was telling him I don't want to go to college. Like I know what I want to do, and I don't want to go to college to do it. I don't have faith in the college system and the way it all works. I think it's all credentialism. Like you get a degree and you're going to get a job based on that, not really based on skill. And I like, just on principle, I don't want to do that. Even if I can make more money, like I hate that idea. I think it's just unfair to people who are really talented.
Yeah. You had a really good video about college on your channel that I think really put it well. It was well articulated.
It's a topic I'm passionate about. I got in big trouble when I went out to Adobe last year because I started ripping on professors live on air, and like I did apologize to Adobe for it afterward, but it was like I just for a moment forgot that I was representing the company, and I wasn't my own free agent in that moment. So like they were justified in getting angry with me, but like we're all cool with everything now as far as I know. But it's something that I'm really passionate about, because like.
But this kid reached back out to you?
Yeah. So this kid reached out. Well, no. So the conversation at the time was like, he was like, I can't believe you're not going to go to college. That's so dumb. If my mom had gone to college back when she could have gone to college, she would have gotten this amazing job at IBM, and it would have, like, who knows where we would be, kind of thing. It was this pie in the sky. The idea everybody sold that you're going to go to college, you're going to get this amazing job at a college, which just isn't a reality. And at the time, we're talking 2007. So this is, I mean, the college bubble is closer to being burst now than it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I just remember telling the kid, no, see, your problem is you want to work for Bill Gates. I want to be Bill Gates. And that's the company I'm going to build. And I believe it. I still believe it. I still have 100% confidence that that's my path. That's where I'm headed. That's what I'm going to do. And he reached out to me on Twitter like not more than a few months ago, and I hadn't talked to the guy in forever. He went through college, everything. He's like, dude, I should have listened to your advice years ago. He's like, I went to college. It was horrible. The job I have now, I'm not even using my degree, and I've got all these student loan debts, and it's just it's not even something where you want to tell somebody like I told you so. It's just kind of like, I'm kind of sorry you got sucked into the same old system that it seems like everybody gets sucked into. And college can work for some people, but it's not this thing, like this idea that like we have a right to higher education and everybody needs it. I mean, is it even higher education anymore? It's not. It's just like 4 more years of high school. You know, there's nothing special about it. There's nothing. Having a bachelor degrees might as well grow on trees because everyone you run into has one. It's more unique when I walk into a job interview and don't have a bachelor's degree, and the big argument is always, oh well, you can't get a job if you don't have a degree, which isn't true. When I was 19 years old, a local university here in Philadelphia offered me a job, like fully, you know, full-time job. Working at their school. It was a design and like textile school, or design and architecture school. I'm sorry. They used to do a lot of textile stuff. Design and architecture school. And it was like $33 an hour. I was going to start at $33 an hour, which at 19 years old,
that's
like,
great. Right.
That's amazing money for a 19-year-old. Are you kidding me? All my friends are working at McDonald's and this grocery store, that grocery store, you know, scrape and buy with $6.50 an hour, $7.50 an hour, whatever. And
I for sure was working minimum wage.
Right. Well, and it's not like, you know, but I turned it down ultimately because I wanted to focus on my own business and my own businesses. And, you know, but it's just an example of, you know, I was letting the work that I was doing at the time speak for itself, and it did speak for itself. And I look back on the work, and it really wasn't. I mean, it wasn't that great. You know what I mean? Like I had a lot to learn, but it was a moment in my life where I was like, okay, I really don't need the college degree. Like if I just do good stuff, and like I mean good stuff, not stuff where your mom says like, "Oh wow, honey, that's really great." No, stuff where it's like you send it to other people, and you know maybe people beat it up today, but then after 6 months of getting the crap kicked out of you by other people who are giving you critiques, people start to say, "Oh, you know what? It's pretty good." You know what I mean?
See, I feel like I had that same moment, but I struggled with it a lot longer than you did. I had that same feeling, but I didn't necessarily have anyone saying. I had the opposite. You know, I had people saying like, "You need to go to college. You need to go to college.
Right.
Like college is the answer." And I guess I ended up going to college probably a few years later than you, because I mean I'm a few years younger than you. But that was probably one of the biggest things I had to build the confidence of in my life. Is like, I always kind of knew I didn't want that path. I still went through that path, but somehow once I was getting to the end, it was something I just put off. And once I was getting to the graduation point, like a year until I graduate, then I started really, like, I felt the pressure under me, like, okay, you know, I've been putting it off. I've been trying to suffocate this feeling for a long time that I know I don't want to do that. And now I'm about to graduate, so you know what, I'm going to figure out how to make this work, and I am going to do it on my own. And I kind of had to find that confidence through, like you said, like books and like online mentors and just being inspired by other people. And a big thing that I agree with you on, to that point of once it's too late to say I told you so, that's another one of the biggest life lessons that I've had to learn so far is if you let somebody talk you out of something, or if you listen to somebody else, they don't care about the outcome of your life necessarily. You know, once you've, like, if you were right all along and they were wrong, like, there's never a point where anyone can say I told you so. It's always just like, okay, someone's right and someone's wrong. So if you would have listened to him and threw away your dreams or whatever you would have called them and went to college, and then he's like, oh, you know what, I was wrong, it's like you don't get any refund for that,
right?
Because you can't go back. So like I've done that more often than not, where I have not gotten refunds for stuff, and I realized that, you know, to listen to your gut first, because nobody really cares at the end of the day. You know, he doesn't care if you go to college or not. He's just gonna tell you you're stupid for doing it. Right. You know? So it's your life. You know, they're not living your life. You're the one who has to live it at the end of the day. Yeah, and I think that's a big thing young kids have struggled to have the confidence to understand.
Yeah, and there's very few people in your life, friends or otherwise, other than like your mom, who when the crap hits the fan and all the pieces are shattered and broken, those friends aren't going to necessarily be there to help you pick everything up.
Yeah.
You know, your mom might be the one who's there to help you out, but it's just not the same. I don't know. You have to be able to take like extreme ownership of the decisions you make at the end of the day. Like allow everybody to bounce their ideas off of you, but you have to develop this like mental fortitude where you can say, that's a pretty good idea, but I still think you're wrong. And it still be okay. Like, look, you do your thing. I'm going to do my thing. Right. It's cool. And you know, I mean, that's just, that's something that I've just learned over the years, and I've gotten better at, and I've wasted huge amounts of time. I mean, but between the ages of like 20 and like 6 months after I got married, which was like end of summer 2015, between like summer of 2011 to like summer of 2015, those 4 years, I did almost nothing on my YouTube channel. I uploaded maybe like 15 videos over that 4-year period. It was just nothing, and it was just a lot of things that were going on in my life. A really bad breakup that I just let it affect me way too much. It wasn't worth it. It was, you know, 100 other things. I was 20 years old, and I was just you know, I'm just such a vastly different person now than I was then, and I don't know. I could only imagine where I would be if I didn't waste those 4 years. But it's also just, I look at it like, you know, the investment, you know, like a sunk cost type of thing, where it's just.
So did you go at all, or did you never go
to college?
Yeah.
So, well, the college story is a little funny because, like, I finished high school when I was 16. I was homeschooled, and when I was like 12 years old, I was like, I need to get finished with school. Like, I hate this stuff.
You were a passionate 12-year-old.
Well, I was like, so it's a true story. When I was 12, my mom opened a Fidelity investing account for me and my older brother, and we were day trading stocks. Like after we would do our school in the morning, like between 12 and 4 o'clock here on the East Coast, we would day trade stocks. And you know, we did okay, I think. I mean, certainly for 12 and 14-year-old, you know, kids, I think we did all right. And then I started an eBay business, and I would ride my bike around town, and I would sell other people's stuff because I didn't want to be bothered buying everything, and I just, you know, scraped 20% off the top, and that's what I took. And everything else, it was like, I list the stuff, I take it to the post office, I do everything. And then I got out of that. And that's what
it's so crazy how similar stuff, because I've done all this stuff. Not stocks when I was young, but stocks, eBay. I was a big eBay. You haven't done your own business stuff till you've spent some time on eBay flipping something, right? I mean, it's like a rite of passage. If you don't have an eBay account with 100 ratings, don't talk to me about entrepreneurship.
Exactly. So it was that, and that was kind of what led me into design initially. I dabbled in Photoshop for a long time before that, but I think I was like 14 or 15 at the time. And I remember going to Amazon's website, and I was like, all right, my goal is going to be start a business a year for the rest of my life. And
did you just plan on them all to fail after a year, or all to be sold?
No, it was just like, I just always thought, like, if I could start a business every year,
just something new.
There'll always be something that sticks, and it'll be a lot of fun. And I love the build. Like, more than anything, I love the build. I love going from zero, whether it's subscribers, followers, $0 in the bank account, whatever, and making something out of seemingly nothing. I think it's why I like design. It's why I like shooting video. It's why I like shooting photos, because I started with nothing, and now I've got all this stuff, and like I made it. I like made it from essentially nothing.
Scratch.
It's thoughts in my head that I've put on paper, or it's a picture that I saw and composed and shot and all of that. And in a business sense, I'm a businessman before I'm any of this other stuff. Art is just the business that I fell into. And so I was looking at Amazon's website one day, and I was like, every time they sell something, I wonder, they must have somebody on the back end updating the quantity to go from like 26 down to 25. But and like I was dabbling in Microsoft Front Page at the time, which is super old WYSIWYG editor. And I just realized there's no way. Like, there's no way they do this. That would be crazy. And you
thought there was like someone there,
exactly,
like really ticking it?
Right. Every time there was an order, that somebody had to go in, highlight the text, and change it. Right. And that was the first time I ever thought of the idea of dynamic websites, where, whoa, you have a database where these numbers are stored, and you're pulling the number, and it's filling a text field on the front end. That's amazing. I need to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
And then I started dabbling in PHP and MySQL and you know, WordPress development, and just straight JavaScript, jQuery type stuff. jQuery wasn't really, at the time, jQuery was, I knew nothing of it, certainly, and it was not nearly as big as it has gotten with all the responsive web and everything that's going on that uses JavaScript on the front end. Flash was still huge. So
was the Photoshop, so like, is that how you dabbled in, how did you first open up Photoshop? Because you were trying to make designs for
So I first opened the first version of Photoshop I opened, I was only 6 years old or 7 years old. It was 1995, 1996. No, my parents run their own business, but in addition, my dad picked up and started doing home appraisals in the mid 90s. And he got this little like crappy Kodak 2-megapixel camera. I still have it, actually. I think it might be, no, it's not on my shelf here in my studio.
Yeah.
It must be at the house. But it was this junky old camera, and he bought Adobe Photoshop 4. And one day I was just like, how are logos made? Like, how do you make a logo? Well, Microsoft Paint sucks, so let's open up Photoshop and try drawing something. Yeah. And the very first thing I ever drew in Photoshop, I'll never forget it. I took the paintbrush on a white canvas and drew a green Gatorade logo with the brush. Soft edges and all. It looked horrible. You know, through a mouse. It was abysmal. I kind of wish I still had the file, but, you know, like, I didn't know what I was doing at the time. It was the very first thing I ever did. I was only 6 or 7 years old. So I'd played with Photoshop for, you know, almost 10 years up until the point when I got into it again. And the reason I got into it was when I had this epiphany about dynamic websites, I was like, I need to learn how to do that. And
you were like 13 at this point?
I think, yeah, I was 14. Yeah, I was 14. Like 14. It was 2003, 2004. Yeah. And I was like, I can make money. I can charge people, you know, and I can make money doing this because nobody knows how to do this stuff. So I learned how to do as much as I could. And it was in the process of doing this design stuff that I realized, all right, I need to know how to do this design stuff, because if I want to start a business a year, like, I need to hire somebody, and I don't have money to hire somebody to do all this design and make a website and make a logo and everything else if I don't know how to do it myself. So I need to learn how to do it myself. A little bit of a backward way of thinking of business, because really it's like, I don't know if you've ever heard the analogy of like the apple where like the skin comes last. I was kind of approaching it like, to start a company, you need a logo and a website, and then everything else comes after it. So that's how I got into it. And I just sort of, it was that process then of the next 2-3 years looking around for tutorials when I couldn't figure something out. I'm like, this stuff out here sucks. Like, it's just junk that's out here. So I made a website. I started making tutorials. I had this old like headset microphone that I used to use. I still have some of those oldest recordings. Someday I'll start releasing them again, just so we can have like a flashback, you know, memory party, and you can hear my nasally 15-year-old voice, and it's cringy, but it's still kind of cool to go back and like, man, I had no idea what I was talking about half the time. And I was just, you know, spitballing it and like, oh, of course this happened because X, Y, and Z happened, you know, and I really didn't know. And I was, you know, it was just this like young kid kind of figuring it all out.
Yeah. And I mean, so I checked too. It's funny how much similarities like our path has. Because I think like the most viewed video on your channel is a really old like web developing tutorial, like Dreamweaver or something.
Dreamweaver.
And that's the same exact thing with me. The first one, like the third video or second tutorial I ever made, where it's just so bad, is still the most viewed video ever. It's beginner's luck.
And it's a horrible tutorial.
Yeah.
It's so bad. The finished product does not look good. I haven't even gone back and rewatched it in forever. Yeah. But I don't even remember the techniques I was showcasing, but I'm sure none of it's any good.
Yeah. But I read something that says like the universe is there to serve you beginner's luck so that you can continue or something. So, I mean, I'm not saying it was like your path was lucky, but like it says something that both of our first couple of videos are still the most popular videos, because it's like that beginner confidence boost for you to keep going. Not that they became the most popular right away, but it's funny how like you get a little kickstart if you try.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's definitely the case. And over those first few years, the channel grew pretty steadily. I remember very distinctly getting the first 600 subscribers was the hardest. Yeah. I think it took me about like 6 months to get there.
Now, I think we need like a little context here. So because you have been on YouTube since 2006, right? So you started your channel in 2006.
Yeah, I think I started putting videos on it like September of 07, I think was when I uploaded my first tutorial. I think. Maybe it was September of 06. I can't remember. It was, we could just say 06. Yeah, we're approaching 11 years, let's say.
Yeah, and like there's a big difference there, where I started my channel in 2011, and you know, that's not the first time I was on YouTube, right? But that's a good 5-year like difference, where it's a different time. And one thing I wanted to ask you is, Who else was around at the time? Like, I could look and I could see, like, I don't specifically remember if I saw you, but I for sure saw Howard's channel, Ice Flow Studios. I for sure remember that being an inspiration to think that, like, there's people who would watch Photoshop content. Was there something like that for you?
No, there was nothing like that. In fact, I didn't even really necessarily want to be on YouTube. I just got onto YouTube.
You wanted your own website.
Right. I was uploading everything, QuickTime files to my own website. And the guy who managed my server just called me one day and was like, all right, your server bill this month is $2,300 and something dollars. At which point, 15 or 16-year-old me said, whoa, hold on a second. This can't be right. And that's how I learned about bandwidth. And when people come to your website, every time they watch a video, somebody has to provide that data transfer. And I was pushing a terabyte of data transfer within a month. Now, part of that is probably I did a horrible job optimizing the videos to be uploaded to my website. So it was a huge, third of a gigabyte or something every time somebody downloaded a video. So within, 50 views, I was, over a terabyte. So I went to this Photoshop forum and I said, guys, I run this website. I can't afford these hosting bills every month. Does anyone have any ideas how I can keep doing YouTube or keep doing Photoshop tutorials, but not have to pay this web hosting? And somebody suggested YouTube. And I kind of thought it was a joke at first because I always looked at YouTube I'm not using somebody else's hosting as cheating.
It just started, by the way, for most people that
Right.
don't know, in 2006, 2000. When did YouTube start? 2006?
Yeah, 2005, 2006. The guy who started actually grew up in the same town that my parents live in. So it was kind of a funny little happenstance. I never met the guy or anything, but yeah. So I was just like, all right, well, I had no other options, so I started uploading to YouTube, and the rest
for a lot of people that are probably listening, like, they might think, why would you scoff at YouTube? It was like a little, wasn't anything then,
Okay, so just to give some context, big picture wise, when I joined, within the first year I was at around 20,000 subscribers, and I was the number 23 most subscribed person on all of YouTube. There was nobody who had even had 100,000 subscribers yet. The first person to hit 100,000 subscribers was this channel called Lonely Girl 15 or Lonely Girl 13 or something.
I remember
which
that.
turned into this big drama thing back in the day because it turned out they faked all these videos of this girl who was being locked in her bedroom or something. It's kind of a crazy story.
It was a show. It was like a scripted show.
Yeah.
It was revolutionary.
Right, but people at the time obviously just thought it was this girl vlogging, sitting there in front of her webcam, complaining about life. And she was this pretty teenage girl, so everybody was tuning in to check her out and see what was going on. But yeah, I mean, I was up there. Michelle Phan had less subscribers than me. I remember watching her come up. Guys like Alex Jones. There was a big guy, Renetto, who used to be big. I don't even know. I haven't even looked him up on YouTube in years. But he was a guy I used to love watching. This guy, Bohemi, I think was his name.
Those last two are not familiar to me.
Yeah, they're old, old school YouTubers. And I've gone and looked at this guy Bohemi. I think he still has only 20 to 50,000 subscribers. His channel just hasn't really done much. Philly D, I remember when he had way less than 100,000 subscribers. I was following him and his videos from his bedroom or wherever he was doing it. But there were a lot of people who have gotten really, really big that at the time, I never really thought about this YouTube arms race where everybody's like, I'm going to get to 1 million subscribers and you're going to get to 1 million subscribers. It was just, hey, people are watching our videos. This is pretty cool. And it was the old days of YouTube, but it was the old days of YouTube. It's not like I reminisce and wish for those days to come back. I mean, I made a lot of money back in those days on YouTube.
See, when I started YouTube in 2011, you had to be in the partner program, and I didn't start it for money, and there was no chance of getting money unless you had a big channel. And then in 2012, they opened it up to everybody. So in 2006, how was revenue?
I don't remember when the revenue started. It wasn't like I plugged into YouTube and was making thousands of dollars overnight. It wasn't that at all.
And it's not even like you thought that was an option.
Right. No, I never even considered it. YouTube was strictly a solution for a problem that I was having in terms of the web hosting. Yeah. So with the partner program, I remember when they started it, and at the time it was, I think you had to have at least 1,000 subscribers and be uploading regularly, whatever that meant. I'm assuming YouTube defined it somewhere. I never read a definition of what that meant, but I was invited into the partner program pretty much right off the bat when it got started, and it was, you know, it was, I guess, cool. You know, I'll start monetizing, see what I make, and you know, I was making more money. Honestly, I was making money on Google AdSense ads on my website. That's where I was starting to make a little bit of money. And I started like selling videos for like $1.99 each if you wanted to download the video, because you couldn't really download YouTube
how did that
videos.
Work? Oh, so you did like your own YouTube Red, kind of.
Exactly, right.
That's smart.
And it was like $1.99. And I mean, I was only making like probably $700, $800, $900 a month, but it was like a digital system. I think the place was called Payloads with a Z, like Payload with a Z on the end, was the service I was using. I don't even know if they're still around, but it's, you know, like any of the digital download services of today, where somebody buys it and it's automatically delivered right away. So I never had to think about or worry about, you know, oh shoot, somebody made an order, I got to run to my computer and email them their files. It was all set up. And that was just a nice, like, you know, a little bit of revenue I made as the advertising on YouTube and stuff grew, and I just built the channel out. But it was never, and it still really has never been something where, you know, getting that YouTube ad money is what it's all about.
No, yeah.
It was really just a solution for the problem at hand. And now it's kind of turned into, you know, YouTube channel first, website second. But I still run the website. I still put up posts for all my videos. You know, I have a blast doing it, man. Like I don't know what else, you know, to tell you. I have plans for other YouTube channels coming in the future. I always wanted to be a chef, so I'm looking to start a cooking YouTube channel. That I think.
Did you? I mean, do you watch like? There's that binging with Babish guy. His channel like blew up. You know?
No, I don't think.
You haven't seen that one? He takes like popular culture. You need to get on that right after this. He takes like popular culture references, like he makes the ratatouille from the movie Ratatouille,
okay.
Or he makes the pizza from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, okay. And he has gotten like 1 million subscribers in the past like 6 months or a year, and his production quality is like phenomenal.
Gotcha.
But
okay.
It's to your point about like, I mean, so we all started, I think somehow we all like led to YouTube just for fun in some way, and then, you know, the more you follow your interests and your hobbies, and then you spend so much time doing it, then you're like, okay, I need to figure out a way to make a living doing it too. And with me too, I didn't have a plan at first, and I did quit the channel for a little bit, or I just stopped uploading, just like you said. You know, there was a time where you just stopped uploading. Mm-hmm. With being on YouTube for so long, and I think I mean, it's hard to track back before like things like Social Blade existed, but it's crazy how like Philly, like you said, Philly D could have had such a long successful channel, but even more than that, like just now in the past year, how much things are blowing up, right? Like I think Philly D's channel, to me, it was kind of like a fading channel, like maybe 2 years ago. I didn't personally subscribe to him, but I'd say in the past year, like his channel also blew up, as well as, I mean, my channel is doing better than it ever has, but I mean, that's different because I started putting actual work into it. But would you say that your channel this year is doing better than it has in a long time?
Yeah, my channel right now is doing better than it ever has in the entire. Again, here's just to give you an idea of where my channel stood. When August of 2015, when I decided, you know what, I need to start focusing on the YouTube channel again. This is
what made you decide that? Because I had that moment too.
Okay, so like
was this after the break?
Yeah. So here, let me just give a little bit of the story of what happened. In 2010, my brother and sister-in-law had a little baby boy. It was actually 2009 he was born. But in 2010, they discovered that he had a pretty severe birth defect where part of his liver was missing. And it wasn't like something where you could treat it with medicine. It was actually a piece was missing, and his liver couldn't drain the bile out of it. So the only solution was a liver transplant. And you can either go the cadaveric route, which is where you wait, sadly, for somebody to pass away, and you harvest that liver, you know, before the person dies. They harvest the whole organ donor type thing. But my brother and sister-in-law, they weren't really comfortable going that route, just because they're like, you know, it's like you're alive, you're dead, and it's hard for us to think that, our baby is living with somebody else's child's liver, knowing that there was even a slight chance of that baby making it. You know what I mean? So it was just kind of something they went through. And just through research, the liver and the kidneys are something where you can do what's called a living donor, where you have somebody with the same blood type, preferably in the family, donate that organ. So and the success rate is it's far, far higher. Like I think a place like South Korea, all they do are the living donors, and it's like a 92 or 94% success rate, some crazy number, at least as of 2010 when I was looking into all these numbers. So I put myself on the list as like a volunteer for donating my liver.
It works like that, like from adult to
infant? So what happens was so I started going through the medical workup, and at the time I had season tickets to the local baseball team, the Phillies, and I was at a game, and my brother called me and said, "Hey, my wife." She started going through the medical workup, and her liver has like a second artery running through it, and it's going to be too risky to do surgery. Would you be willing to donate? And yeah, of course. I mean, I'll do it. I don't expect anything of you. You don't have to say thank you. Like I'm doing this for Jesse, for the baby. So I started going through the medical process and all of the workup and things like that. And long story short, I thought I was going to die. Like I thought it was, you're gonna take my liver, I'm gonna die, but the baby will get the liver. And I was kind of like, well, I'm 20 years old, I've had a good run, I've got to do work that I love, I've had a pretty great life, and if this gives him a shot at doing this, I'm more than willing to give it all up for him. And so I went down to the hospital for our first meeting, and the surgeon who was gonna operate on me said, I asked him, I was like, what's the survival rate? Assuming that he was going to be like, well, you are aware that this is going to be something where you're not going to make it. And he said, oh, there's like a less than 1% chance that you'll die. And I was like, oh, shoot. I was like, do whatever you want to me. You know what I mean? Like I came in fully still,
even I don't think myself or many others would even feel comfortable, or you'd still feel uneasy,
I mean, there's tension for sure. Like it's not like you're just like whistling Dixie, but it was also like, it's my nephew.
It's much better than you
know
thought.
what I mean? Yeah, well, yeah, and at that point, and it was kind of like, then I could start making requests. Like I didn't want to be on drugs long term. I hate drugs. I don't even like drinking coffee. I don't like anything that changes or alters my perception of the reality around me. That being said, I will drink a soda now and again or a Red Bull now and again, which is loaded with caffeine. But I don't
think that's too mind altering.
We're all hypocrites in our own little ways, aren't we?
Yeah.
But so I started going through this process, and long story short, they pushed the surgery out. My surgery would have been scheduled August 3rd. He got a blood infection at a trip down to a beach down either Delaware or Maryland, and they brought him back to the hospital, and all of his veins and his arteries collapsed on the night of August 2nd, and he passed away, like right in front of my brother and sister-in-law, just blood running out of every orifice in his body. It was just horrible, horrible.
Terrible.
And I rushed down to the hospital, and is there anything I can do? Like, can you operate on me right away? And he was gone. You know what I mean? It was just too late. And seeing his body laying in like the pediatric intensive care unit, which is like the most horrible place on earth, just kids in the worst condition ever. It's just such a sad sight. And walking in and seeing his body, and just kind of having that moment with my mom and my dad, and like it's just this, I can't even describe it. You know what I mean? Like we're coming up on his 7th anniversary now of him passing, and it's just still like this thing where it's like this gut check moment even talking about it. But it does something.
Forget it.
Right, but it does something to you, man. Like it changes you, and I don't know how to even describe what it does. And at the time, I was trying to work on this relationship with this girl, and that ended up falling apart. And she got went off and hooked up with some other guy and got married to him 4 months later, and they moved to Ireland. And it was like this. It was a horrible time in my life. Like it was so bad,
devastating.
And it was just kind of like I said, you know what? I got to put down the graphic design thing. I'm going to learn photography. I'm going to pick up the camera. I'd always loved picking up the camera for family vacations. And I went on to Craigslist. I built a little system on a website to capture models and started doing TFP, trade for time, trade for print shoots, where basically I send you pictures when we both do the photo shoot, and I get pictures for my portfolio, you get pictures for your portfolio. And I for about a year and a half, that's all I did. I let the revenue from Tutvid, I lived off of that. And I bought a bunch of photography gear, and I just did 150 of these shoots. Like every 2 days I was doing a new shoot and just cranking them out and learning location lighting, learning how to work with models, learning how to pose, learning how to shoot cars and food and architecture and different cameras and lenses and all this different stuff. And it was just this, it was a really crazy time thinking back on it, just everything that was learned. But it was just this thing where it was like, I need to get so fanatically busy with something that gets me out of the house, that gets me up and gets me moving around.
Get your mind off of it.
Right, exactly. And it was good for that, but also I made 4 YouTube videos for the channel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can see, if you go back and you look at the tribute video for my nephew, I made it like the day after he died. I made it, uploaded it to the channel. And then there's nothing on my channel until I think March of the following year, where I made like a "he is back" kind of video. And I made that video and then promptly made no new videos for a long time after making that
I think
video.
I've done that one time.
So it was just a crazy period in my life. And a few girlfriends later, I met the girl who I ended up marrying, and I spent a year dating her, and that year was all just my photography business. I didn't do any. I maybe did 2 or 3 videos on YouTube, and it wasn't until after we got married, about 6 months after we got married, I knew I had a daughter on the way, and I was like, all right.
And this was
summer of 2015.
And did you think that you were going to get back to the channel, or did you think that you were going to take the photography route?
I mean, I still do photo shoots. I do a few of them every month.
So I saw you have that other website, which is kind of hidden almost. Not hidden, but it's you wouldn't automatically know it.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't do that much with it. But I still do shoots. I have some great clients who I work with that do amazing stuff. Like clients who do amazing stuff. My work, whether or not it's amazing, that's up for that's up for debate.
Interesting clients.
But it was something where I knew I was never going to give up on the channel unless it was just something where I knew it could never turn into a business, or I just completely lost the passion for doing it. And neither of those two things ever went away. And it was always a matter of just dedication. Am I willing to start dedicating the time again and trade off some of this other stuff? So that's what I did. And in 2015, summer of 2015, I just was like, all right, we just got to start small. And I started doing these like 30-second, 1-minute Photoshop tutorials and tried to do like 4 or 5 of them a week, and just did a video.
I think that recalls to me how we actually bumped into each other. Somebody on Instagram had tagged me and you in the same comments saying something about how I don't remember what it was. It was something about the 30-second tutorials or something, because I think I had made one on my Instagram. Someone tagged us, and then that's when I was like, oh, sorry. He said something kind of rude, and I was like, oh, sorry, I can't really control.
I remember that. And I said something like, nah, dude, leave him alone. Like, it's, we can all make
I
videos.
DM'd you. I was like, sorry, I don't really control what he says.
No.
And then I was like, yeah, but we should work together. Yeah, that's how it happened.
Yeah, I remember that now. I remember that.
Yeah,
so I don't know. It was just, dude, it was just a crazy 4 years of my life. I did learn a lot, but the YouTube channel definitely suffered. And by suffer, I mean, just to give you an idea, in 2015, when I picked up my channel, I had 189,000 subscribers. I remember, because since then I've logged every single month: minutes watched, subscribers, Facebook likes, Instagram followers, Snapchat watches. Like, I try to log all. Like, I've got a whole Excel spreadsheet where every month, the first of every month, I log all these details about the website, about the newsletter, about all kinds of different numbers, just to keep track of where, okay, I need to improve this. This is going pretty well. Keep doing more of that, and just everything that needs to be done along the way, and just keep up with what needs to be kept up with. Yeah,
I mean, and you said you've been logging it since then. Were you going to say, like, and you've noticed something, or?
No, it's just a matter of, so it took me until 2015. So that would be 9 years. Took me 9 years to get to 190,000 subscribers, and now I'm at whatever 430,000 or something in the last less than 2 years.
Yeah.
So that's just a testament to how good things have been the last couple of years. Because things were pretty great in years before. I think it was like before 2012. The CPM, I don't know, the CPMs on Photoshop stuff were so high. I was making a lot of money per 1,000 views. And it's not quite the same now, but there's still, like, you can still make good money. I'm not complaining about the money, but it's just, you know, it was the advertising rates were higher back then. So I didn't need the kind of views that I get today to make, you know, a lot more money than I'm even making today. Yeah.
I think, did you get on a strict schedule, or were you never on a strict schedule and you got on a strict schedule?
Yeah, I was never, there was never a schedule. There was like a rough idea in my head of, I think I should do X number of videos a month. Now I have everything listed out. I mean, I have charts of like upcoming videos where it's like, this video is coming out on the 26th, this video is coming out on the 27th, this video is coming out on the 28th, 29th. So for, you know, weeks ahead of time, I can be recording these videos and preparing. So, you know, when the time comes, there's just constantly content going up. Now, right now, there are some days that I have to drop out and I'm missing because I just got into this new space and I'm still working on catching back up, because I took about like 6 weeks off or something like that. It was 5 or 6 weeks. It felt like an eternity where I uploaded virtually nothing. And now
you were missing for a bit. I mean,
yeah, which is like that causes.
I just went through that too.
It's like anxiety, right? Where you're like, I got to make a video, I got to make something, I got to get something up, I got it. Like, come on, dude, you can't work this hard. There's I forget who it was that said, like, it's easy to get momentum. It's far more difficult to maintain momentum.
Yeah, you have to. I think the quote is like, it's hard to get somewhere. You have to work hard to like get somewhere. You have to work twice as hard to keep it.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And that's where, like, you know, some of these like OG YouTubers like Philly D, like Boogie, some of these guys who have just like, they never blow up like a guy like Jake Paul who gets up, you know, or Logan Paul getting 1 million plus subscribers a month, but they're at 4 or 5 million subscribers, and it's just been 10 years of consistent grinding. And there's just something about that, like, you know, love you or hate you, you gotta respect. Like, there's just, you have gained so much respect from me. Just like, you show up every day and you put in the work, and you change where you have to change, and you still somehow stay true to yourself. And it's just such a cool thing to see and to watch. And you could say the same thing for the folks over at H3H3, the same type deal where you just show up and you just grind.
Cha-ching, we can put Jake Paul in the title now. Day 2 in a row. I'm going to try to go every single episode somehow. It's going to mention I'm going to keep him in the title every single episode.
Until he's no longer relevant. It was like the prankster who actually, he's from right here around me, that guy Lance Stewart, who blew up like for a few months last month.
He's actually still, I thought he blew up recently again.
Yeah, I mean, his views are down a little bit. I try to keep my eye on some of the bigger YouTubers, but there's just, I would spend my whole day just on YouTube if I tried to keep up with everybody.
I think a lot of people don't understand like what goes into it. So would you say that you watch a lot of YouTube? Because I, for sure, am like a what's the word for, like, I rabidly like. You're a savant. Study.
You're a YouTube savant.
Not savant. I like rabidly study and consume everything, and I have my ear everywhere.
I would say every day there's at least 10 videos in my watch later queue, which is the best tool on YouTube. If you're not,
I don't use that feature.
If you're not using it, it's so easy. You just click the little icon in the bottom right corner of a YouTube video. It drops it in that list. You don't have to worry about saving it. I keep tabs open. You don't, well, see, that's what I don't do, because I treasure the CPU of my computer. But I do that. I also have YouTube Red, which I got not because I hate ads. I got it because, like, as I started getting bigger, I was like, you know what, it's whatever it is, 10 or 12 bucks a month, and it's so much better for the creators. And I was like, you know what, I'm in this ecosystem where I'm a creator. I want the best for my fellow creators. This is one small way that I can do it, other than like contributing with super chats and Patreon and different things like that. I want to help my fellow creators out. Like, it doesn't have to be a game where by boosting somebody else you're knocking yourself down. I don't believe that that's the case. I think if we boost everybody gets lifted up. And it's just, you know, there's a lot more people out there who don't use YouTube on a regular basis. If we can all work together to make this a more accessible platform and more regular for a lot more people, we would all benefit from it. From creators like you and I to people who are listening to this podcast right now who are going to turn into big creators 3, 4, 5, 10 years from now, to just people who will never create anything and they just want to consume the content. They're going to get better, faster, more modular, more exciting content that they love even more. And it's, I don't know, it's just any small way that I can contribute to it, as long as I have the means to contribute to it. Like, I'm there. Like, that's what I want to do.
I think it's natural to have that, like, gut instinct of, I don't want to bring them up because then I'm bringing them above me.
Yeah.
But if you actually logically look at it and you look at the analytics, like, I've had people, you know, email me, or like I've had people DM me that I was not even familiar with their channel, and they've DM'd me before that, you know, they like my channel, or that my channel inspired them to start doing something, and then DM'd me that, hey, maybe we should like not use the same stock footage here that we happen to use in this video. And I'm like, oh, sorry, I didn't even, like, I don't watch your channel, I didn't see it. But in reality, you know, did you know that my video and your video, if we cover the same topic, that, you know, it's actually good if we cover the same topic, because that means that your video has a better chance to be referred from my video.
Right, and vice versa.
A lot of people think if you cover the same, because me and you probably have a lot of topics that we both cover the same, because sometimes there's just something, you know, if you're teaching Photoshop or Premiere Pro, you got to talk about how to color correct, or you got to talk about how to color grade.
The zoom out effect.
The zoom effect is big, and it's like, okay, like, you can't get mad that someone does, oh, he did the zoom effect too, or he did this too. It's like, if you actually go look at your analytics, and me and you, I bet we can see that our channels are actually providing each other traffic in related search if we do a similar type of video. I mean, there's a difference between like, you know, taking someone's work, or like covering similar topics that no one owned in the first place either way.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and it's like the feeling that, you know, if I boost my fellow creator up, I'm somehow, you know, taking away minutes that somebody can watch me. I mean, yeah, maybe, but it's like, I don't know. In my experience, it never works that way. What ends up happening is it ends up being better for you and the other person in the end. Like, not even just some of the time, like every single time I've done it. And it's, for me, it comes down to, number one, you know, if somebody else is having success, it doesn't mean that I can't have success, number one. And number two, it's not just about the views and the analytics on YouTube. It's the people first approach, where it's like, hey, I can actually be genuinely happy for you for the success that, you know, when you hit 500,000 subscribers, if you hit 500,000 before I hit 500,000, you know, I'll be showering praise on you, you know, left and right. If you hit 1 million before I hit 1 million,
I'll see you at 1 million.
Right, exactly.
How about that?
the ironic twist when we both hit 1 million the same day. But no, I don't know. It's just not something where I look at it that way. It just seems dumb, quite frankly.
So who do you enjoy watching? You said you have YouTube Red. I gotta look into it. I don't actually have it. I just got Amazon Prime today, which is funny.
I don't really, all the YouTube Red shows stink. Like, I don't have it for any of the YouTube Red stuff. It's just like,
you don't
cheap.
like the Logan Paul series?
It's just like dumb produced,
scripted. You know, it's not the stuff.
And it's just,
it's not your
like,
niche stuff.
Yeah, and I don't really like. I don't even have Netflix. Like, I don't watch a lot of TV. Like, I watch YouTube stuff, and that's what I do. I've watched maybe a half dozen movies my entire life. It's just not a medium I consume a lot of. So on YouTube, I watch a lot of mixed martial arts stuff.
Really? Do you watch Fight Tips?
Fight Tip? I think he might be somebody I'm subscribed to.
Probably.
I love boxing. I love mixed martial arts. So I watch that. I watch Jared Poland's stuff. He does a podcast every couple of weeks.
I watch him.
Tony and Chelsea Northrup, I try to keep up with some of their stuff. Obviously, I'm subscribed to you. There's a really cool podcast called First We Feast. The channel First We Feast.
Oh, yeah. I follow First We Feast. They have a podcast?
Ones. Yeah, Hot Ones.
Oh, I thought Hot Ones was more like would you consider that a podcast?
It's like a video podcast. That's the way I think about it. So I like.
Yeah, of course.
I like
that.
that.
Like Hot Ones.
When it comes to cooking, there's a really cool cooking channel that I've been following since they had like 30,000 subscribers, but they're like at 700,000 now, called Almazan Kitchen. It's this guy like over in the Czech Republic or Bosnia or somewhere over there in like southern Central Europe, well, maybe even Eastern Europe, heading toward Eastern Europe. And he doesn't talk at all in his videos, and all of his cooking is done outside, like over a fire. But it's like these amazing dishes, and he's got really nice production quality. It's just a very unique cooking channel, the only
I have
one
to
like
check
it
that
I
one
know.
out.
Yeah, it's a real. I can send you the link. It's called Amazon Kitchen.
That sounds like, you know, those channels where they cook like Cooking for My Whole Village. Have you seen those?
Yeah, I've seen stuff like that, but it's not. It's like you just have to see it. Like he makes like chicken nuggets, but like from a chicken. Like it's stuff done by hand that you've never seen done by hand before. I'll put it to that. Like he washes his pots and pans in the stream before he gets cooking, and he'll go and he'll dig up roots for some of the herbs and stuff he's using. It's just like it's a really unique way.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I also watch another channel. This guy called Wrangler Star. He's like a homesteader out in Oregon or southern Washington State, and he has like all this stuff around his homestead, you know, building and with tools and all kinds of crazy stuff. Snow
See,
plowing.
you build a lot. I remember last time we collaborated. In the middle of the collaboration, you like went and built a table or something. I clearly remember like you didn't have like the right setup, and you like went and built a table real quick or something.
You got to do what you got to do for the video, man. So
Yeah.
I do that,
and you just built this whole office.
Yeah, all this whole space. I did most of it myself.
Yeah,
that was not by choice, so that was because we had some issues with the contractor. But yeah, I don't know. I follow a bunch of different YouTubers. I mean, Austin Evans. I follow MKBHD.
Yeah.
I follow. Yeah. I do follow Jake Paul, Logan Paul, and some of the old
Of course,
pranksters.
we're all
like
Jake Paulers.
Vitaly.
So you're a Jake Pauler.
I mean, you could say I'm a Jake Pauler, but I'm also. I would then also be part of the Low Gang as well because I don't know. I just
have you considered naming your audience the Tutviders?
Not really. I've had like. Very often I get suggestions for different names, but usually it's stuff like name yourself King Tut. And I'm just
yeah.
I can't.
What are some of the
I can't
suggestions?
do that. Like Tutvidians or Tutviders. You know, I don't even remember Tutvid Nation. There's there's so many different names and stuff that people come up with. But
I was so against that at first, and then like they kept saying in the comments, they kept saying Odisho. And then I was like, you know what? If they want to call themselves that, it's funny.
That's at least catchy. I feel like the Tutvid's a little bit of an awkward word to begin with. So adding anything else to it is kind of like, it's
Tutvidanites.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So
leave in the comments below what you want Tutvid's fandom to be called.
Yeah. What should the fans be called?
Name Tutvid's fandom. No, but So that brings me up to a question, because I mean earlier you said you might want to start a cooking channel and stuff, and this is something that I also like go through because I have other hobbies too. I didn't even bring up. I mean obviously I always see you working out or in the gym. It seems like fitness is a decent hobby in your life, and I also have other hobbies of like clothing, art, music, fitness and stuff, and. I'm trying to experiment more to bring those all together on my channel under my name. But how do you think, would you ever consider like just uploading a cooking video out of the blue one day and think that like your audience would appreciate it or no?
If I did it, it would be as a joke. Or if there was some creative way that I could work Photoshop or video editing into it. And
the chicken nuggets thing you posted on Instagram.
Yeah, right, exactly.
The
chicken nugget explosion. I mean,
that was cool.
Something like that, but it would have to like serve the purpose of promoting the cooking channel as well at that point. The cooking channel is not something like I want to start a cooking channel. I want to start a sports show because I don't really watch sports, but I love keeping track of sports because again, I enjoy watching how teams are built. More so than like the last time I sat down and watched a full game of anything, football, basketball, baseball, you name it. I can't even remember the last time, I watched a baseball game first pitch to the end. Heck, I can't even remember the last time I watched one full inning of a baseball game or one full quarter of a football game or basketball game or anything like that. But I could name, 3 starting linemen on most NFL football teams right now. Like I know the rosters to that extent. But that's just me being the fanatical, stat geek kind of guy that I am. But I would love to start a sports show. I would love to start a cooking channel. I have plans and I'm working toward actively starting a photography and like video with DSLR channel.
See, I feel like you could just I feel like that could go right on to Tutvid.
Like, I agree. Related. I agree, except I'm already going to be putting out 6 to 10 videos a week. And
I see on top of things.
It's yeah, and it's kind of like if you're just a pure graphic designer, you don't care about this, the Sigma 18 to 35 f2 lens review. You know what I mean? It gets to a point where there would be, half the stuff on the channel you would love and half you would hate. And I don't really care about just pumping, one channel up to like 10 million subscribers. If I have 5 different channels, I become like my own MCN. You know what I mean? Where I could tell an advertiser or a sponsor, look, in aggregate, I get 25 or 30 million views a month. Maybe this one channel only gets 2 million views a month, but as a company, I have these 5 different channels, and then I become not just the Tutvid channel, but the the Dodson
media company.
Right? Yeah. Exactly. And
I guess I approach that in a different way. I try to. I would. You could not get me to start a second channel right now. Even if I was doing like a outfit of the day video, I'm putting it on my channel right now, which I understand is not. You don't understand. It's a challenge.
You don't understand the power. I bet you if you were to start a new channel today, you would have 5,000 subscribers within a week. I'd be willing to bet if you promoted it through your current channel. And you said, hey, guys, for anybody that's interested, and like it wouldn't be something you could throw into a video editing tutorial, but over the course of your podcast and on Instagram and different places, if you promoted it, you would grow quick. You would be surprised how quick you would grow. And
I mean, that's one thing I see that's one thing I see that you're doing too is and one thing that I'm always doing, and I guess that we're all doing, is like we're just like stocks. We're trying to diversify and not be all in one place, because I especially am heavily focusing on Instagram, then Twitter after that. I feel like once I establish an Instagram account too, then like even if my YouTube channel gets shut down, I won't be like out of luck with all the years of work I put in. But I'm also diversifying my content too. See, I just started out only Photoshop tutorials, and when I tried something new with some video editing stuff, and just like you said earlier, it's not particularly that I'm so into Photoshop or so into Premiere Pro. It's that I like building something and I like sharing videos online, and those just happen to be my interests.
Right.
And what's more fun to me is like building the accounts and all the numbers and engaging with people and just growing something and nurturing something. But I do like how you are diversified in the fact that where I've kind of jumped really heavy into After Effects, Premiere Pro, and videography and cameras and stuff, you are still pretty diversified, where it's like Photoshop Monday, Illustrator Tuesday, Premiere Pro, this day, and you still are able to get a solid like viewership with the Illustrator and the Photoshop, whereas I would probably have I've been thinking about going back and doing another Photoshop tutorial. I mean, I've made so many I got burnt out, but I would be hesitant to make a Photoshop tutorial nowadays.
I'll put it to you this way. The diversity in my channel is probably the greatest weakness in my channel. Only because like there's a reason a channel like Flurn gets to, I mean, they have some big investors that really help them pump their content, but there's a reason they're at whatever 1.2 or 1.3 million subscribers. It's because they focus on Photoshop, but not even just Photoshop, but Photoshop primarily for photographers. Like they have super targeted their channel.
I also feel like photography is a bigger niche than graphic design, but that might just be me.
I don't know. I mean, I think graphic design is a vastly untapped frontier, and because, I mean, just think about it this way: a photographer knows how to set up the camera and the lights to produce a beautiful video. A graphic designer sucks at that stuff, and I've got plenty of graphic designer friends who've tried to make tutorials, and they're awful. A lot of graphic designers are kind of introverted, and it's just a more awkward experience where people are kind of like, this guy doesn't really have the charisma. Do I really want to follow him? I don't know, Yeah. And it's I think that plays a much bigger role, because Photoshop is an easier to access platform than a Canon T6i or a Nikon D7000 with appropriate lenses and things. So I don't know. I mean, casual photography, yeah, there's probably more people who take pictures with stuff like smartphones and whatnot. But I put it to you this way: I think with any YouTube channel you start, there's always an audience of at least 100,000 people in this world that if you present the content in the right way, there's always 100,000 people who are willing to tune in and listen to you. You can have a channel on how to make trench coats from weasel pellets, and there's 100,000 people out there somewhere that will tune in, if not just for the bizarre.
Yeah.
I follow some of these food review channels.
The report of the week.
Yes,
One of my
so I follow that guy,
folks.
but there's also another guy, Joey's
I
World
have been
Tour.
following him since he first started, by the way, because there used to be the bodybuilding.com forums, which I mentioned in the first podcast.
Yeah.
I was really into fitness, and that's the forum that like everybody congregated to. Like, even if you weren't into fitness, it was just like the Reddit of back then.
Right.
And that's where he got his, they call him Review Bra.
Yeah.
Because back on those forums, everyone called each other bra. Like, that's just what everyone called each other.
Oh, see, I wasn't aware of where the nickname came from. I've seen
that's
it in his
where
comments.
it came from. Everything started from that. They first posted his videos because he had the Domino's pizza one that went viral, and they called him Review Bra because he was a participant in the forum. He would comment
really?
and chat,
Oh, wow.
and everyone's avatars would be like them, like hitting like a double biceps pose, and he has his like avatar of him in the suit.
Right. Yeah.
I love that guy. He inspired the podcast.
Food
He
review.
inspired the podcast a little bit.
Oh, really?
Cause he has this he has a segment called Voice of the Report of the Week. It's like 4 hours long of him just like,
Oh,
today
I've seen it.
I went on a
Yeah.
walk,
Yeah.
and I found myself listening to it. I'm like, wait, this plus the Cody Co thing. I'm like, I can talk for an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just I forget
Love
what,
your review,
what
bro.
point I was even trying to get to, but yeah, just like crazy stuff. There's this other guy,
Audience, yeah.
Joey's World Tour,
Yep.
who does like these
Follow him.
crazy food reviews where he's just like he just seems like a weird dude. And he's got whatever 250,000 subscribers or something, and it's just like I could swear no matter what you do, there's always 100,000 people somewhere that if done well and if done consistently, they will find you and you'll have a little audience.
CNN did a piece on Report of the Week.
Oh, really? I do
it?
know he did get some like traditional press. I didn't.
Oh yeah,
I didn't-
he's been on everything. He's been on Tosh.0. I think the thing that glues it all together is if you get in front of the camera and you show your personality, you know.
Right.
I'm sure there's somebody that commented on my video that they don't even have Premiere Pro, they don't even have Photoshop, and they don't know why they watch the videos, but I seem like a nice guy and they watch them.
Well, yeah, it's always funny when you get those comments that are like, I opened this video thinking who in the world would watch 36 minutes of this, and here I am 36 minutes later making a comment on the video. And it's like that there's something that's kind of endearing about a comment like that, and I'm glad. I'm glad that you stuck around that long and found it that enthralling. And then you always get like the weird comments and messages and stuff. But that's just
I thankfully I don't get too many weird ones.
You know what's funny? Like, I could not imagine being a female YouTuber because
of
like
course.
when I went out to not YouTube, out to Adobe in San Francisco a few months ago, we were doing these live streams. And after every live stream, Adobe had set up a temporary email address for us. And like there was me, there's a bunch of other male
questions.
What's that?
To field questions and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. People who wanted, or they had, like, you did this. Can you explain a little bit more how you did X, Y, or Z? So there were a few girls who were hosting. There was me and a few other guys. And like the woman who was handling us at Adobe, she would come in every morning when we came in because we were there for like 3 days. All right, let's go over your emails. Let's make sure we get back to everybody. All right, cool. Let's sit down and knock this out. And like I remember the first day I had 10 emails. And she's like, whoa, you got 10 emails? She's like, none of the other guys got any emails. And I was like, oh, really? Is that good or bad? Like the emails were for the most part good. I don't think there's anybody who was angry in the emails. And she said, yeah. She's like, no, that's good for you. She's like, but the girls are getting like 150, 200 emails, but most of them are like, wait, what's your social media? What's your phone number? Where do you live? Sometime I'm out in San Francisco, you and I ought to get together. And it's just like, dude, I deal with enough spam as it is. If I was getting an additional 100, 200 messages, just like overall between social media, email, everything, I've got 700 unanswered questions sitting in my email right now that I've got to get to.
Yeah.
So just to put up with more nonsense would just be like, ugh. But I mean, you got to have fun with it too. I try not to be too hard on my followers. The comments that kind of get under my skin are the ones where somebody comes in and you can tell it's just like an insulting.
They're
comment.
always assumptive.
Well, you can appreciate an insult comment if it's like a good insult, you know, like
Funny
you're,
one, yeah.
like yeah, you're funny, or like that's really painful, you know, like I can appreciate you thought about this. But every
Sometimes,
once in a
yeah,
while-
it's constructive in a harsh way.
Right, but sometimes you just get the comment that's like you can tell the person just was like, meh, blink. I'm just gonna just casually insult this person or the video or whatever, and it's just kind of like, dude, just
Yeah.
leave the channel, like take it somewhere
Yeah.
else. Like I'm trying to foster a
Yeah.
good community here, but I always walk this line of you don't want to come across to the rest of your loyal audience as being this condescending, you know.
Sometimes I do just want to get in there and just be like, you know what, piss off.
Right. Well, and I think sometimes it's good to do that, but it has to be with the right comments, because like
Yeah.
people will appreciate when it's done with the right comments. But if you're getting in there every time somebody says something somewhat critical, it's just
Then
like
people are
dude,
gonna come out to
right,
troll
you're
you.
You're just a sore loser. Look, if somebody comes in and they're heavily critical and they've got good points, I'll concede the points to them. Be like, you know what? You're right. I probably should change this or that, or I could get better here. And that kind of stuff is actually really helpful, because I can, you know, mold and shape the content that I'm making to change with accordance. You know, if I get the same comment on 10 different videos by, you know, 10 different people, there's the likelihood is there's 150 people who haven't said anything, or maybe 1,000 people who are thinking that.
If you see one cockroach,
Right.
there's probably many.
Right, exactly. But these are my favorite kind of cockroaches. I don't want
No.
to kill them. I want to encourage more to come out and tell me, help me. Like, let's make this channel better for everybody. Because, yeah, sometimes it hurts to take the criticism, but it's just, in the end, it just makes everything so much better, and you can make the channel better. And dude, people have good ideas, man. Like,
Yeah.
you can sit
No,
there and
I've been
think,
wrong
like,
all the time.
yeah, and you
Some
can
people
there-
are like, hey, why'd you do that way? You should have done this. And then sometimes you want to say something, then I'm like, you know what? You're right.
yeah, and
I,
sometimes
was
you
like,
realize
I didn't know about that too.
Right, that was so much of a better way to do
Yeah.
this, that, or the other thing.
And the few times I've ever gotten in there with someone and like want to be like, you know what? I'm going to show you that you're wrong. It's like by the fifth message, I realize that I'm arguing with like either a child or someone who's mentally unstable, and I just feel bad about myself, so I just delete my messages, and I'm like, you know what? I'm sorry, man. Just have a good day.
Yeah, well, and the more that remember, people flock to the drama, so you know that comment's
Yeah.
going to be upvoted to the top of your comment section, and it you know, again, it just gets to the point where it's just not worth it. It's funny. I have there was one time on Facebook, a kid messaged me. And I say kid because he sent me a video of himself after the fact. But he was from Georgia, I think. Not Georgia, the United States state, the country. Right, the country, Georgia. And, you know, he wanted me to make a banner for his Facebook page.
And I say no.
I just messaged him back. I'm like, look, I don't have the time to do that. I'm really sorry, you know, but like, here, check out this tutorial or that tutorial. Maybe that'll help you out. And he sent me back like 10 voice messages on Facebook, and the first one was like, Mr. Nathaniel, I hate you.
Yes.
I hate all Americans. You guys are lazy. You're not willing to do work for people like me. I hate people like you. And he just like went on and on and on. And it was just like, it was so funny. Like that, my reaction was just to laugh. And so I was like, you know what? I'm actually impressed that you keep coming back from work, because he sent me like 10 messages and they were all voice messages.
Yeah.
And I said, all right, I'll make you a little something. So I like threw something together.
Oh
whatever.
no, you conceded.
Well, and I made one thing, and like he sent me another voice message, just like, you're the most amazing person in the world. I love you. I knew Americans were good people. You know, and it was just this. It was
you
just
shouldn't
this
have fed
complete,
into it.
It was this complete one. It was so fun. I couldn't resist. You had to. If I could find the messages and it wasn't like a breach of somebody else's privacy, it's so funny. It is just so funny.
Yeah.
The kid, he was like 8 years old or something. He's just this little kid, and you know, it was, I don't know, it was so funny. It was hilarious. So my channel, it's like I would like to be able to say, look, here's all the education stuff, but I also have all the stuff that's just entertainment stuff, where it's like me sitting down, you know, with a co-host, maybe doing a show like that, some kind of podcast, or I don't know, just even something that's a shorter form, you know, 6 to 10 minute video where you're putting something out. And that's why a few weeks ago on an Instagram live stream, I was kind of pitching the idea that one of the things that I'm working on is doing for a bunch of the different disciplines, if you will, graphic design, photography, video editing, finding a client who consents to having the entire process filmed. and making like maybe one or two of these videos a month, where we go from all the way from the very beginning of like acquiring the client, how we found them, how we pitched them the job, to here's the contract we're working with, here's how much we're charging them, here's what they expect. We go out to the location, film that, how I'm talking to the client, the interviews, and passing information back and forth, to coming back and to working here, to working with whatever other designers or photographers or whoever I'm working with, all the way through to dealing with them on the phone with revisions, delivering finished products, and make it like a 45-minute episode, like a full show. Yeah, I mean, and who also does it? Like, if you were to do that from a video standpoint, I've never seen a graphic design video like that. Never, ever.
I mean, I think the kind of related to your point, one thing that I've been tossing around in my head for like the past year is doing. No one has like a show revolving around these topics, so I understand that these one-off tutorials are not super like melded together, and they're not there needs to be something more than these one-offs. But what if someone did like a show, like a daily creative show, revolving all these little topics, and you had your own little format? But
no, I agree with you entirely, because I mean, just like I enter into my own body. If I'm going onto YouTube to watch something, I'm not going to watch a tutorial, right? Like, I'm not sitting there saying, all right, in my daily watch later list, I have a tutorial. Like, when I need to figure something out, that's when I bump into a tutorial. It's honestly, that's part of the reason why I've like this crazy love for these people that do, like, as soon as I put out a tutorial, they watch it, because I'm kind of like, wow.
Why?
Like, well, I mean, I guess you figure you're going to pick up tips and tricks and stuff, but it's just like, it's kind of crazy if you think about it in one sense, because it's like, it's not necessarily entertainment. It's almost like you're putting yourself through a little bit more school voluntarily because you like what I'm doing. That's pretty, I mean, it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you put it that way, it is crazy to think that a certain amount of people will watch every upload.
Right. But just think of like what your channel would be if not only did you have the educational stuff, but you brought in this whole facet where it was like, oh, sweet, Justin did his tutorial for the day, but he also has this other thing that's purely entertainment. So just like somebody who clicks on somebody who goes, obviously there's millions of people who go to Jake and Logan Paul's channels every day looking for, oh, well, they've uploaded something today. Somebody goes to Philly D's channel, H3H, so on and so forth. Well, H3H3, they're weekly, but you know what I mean? People who do daily uploads, and they go to those channels expecting a new video, and they seek that out for entertainment purpose. And I have nothing like that on my channel. And that's where I look at it like, hey, a designer needs to be entertained as well. Now, the problem with me is like a lot of like the stereotypical geeky, nerdy stuff, I'm just not interested. I've never watched a Star Wars movie in my life. I'm not really interested in animated comics. Just a lot of like the geek culture. I've never been to Comic-Con. I have no interest in going to Comic-Con. So that's where I'm more like, I'd rather go out and shoot guns. I'd rather go out and, I just like do like, I don't know, just other stuff. And maybe there's a big audience for that. You really don't know until you try. But, going back to what I believe, there's 100,000 people. 100,000 people for everything.
That's all you need. Yeah. So, I think we should start wrapping it up. It's been a decent chunk of time. I'm not sure exactly.
Have we hit an hour yet?
Oh yeah, we for sure hit an hour.
Oh really?
Yeah. So I actually had a whole bunch of things written down, like notes, and we kind of actually pegged through all of them unknowingly. Cool. Okay. I didn't bring them up. You kind of brought them up.
Oh shoot. Okay.
I had a lot of them written. I had like Philly. So actually we're here at the end of it naturally, which is very cool. I'll show you the list after. It's kind of crazy. But I guess the last thing I wanted to ask you is like, so what are your future goals here? What are you trying to do, like, now being so far into it, doing this podcast with me? Like, what motivates you to continue waking up and doing all these creative things, and where do you see it going forward from here?
Building a company. I'm trying to build a company. I'm trying to build a company that'll take care of me and take care of my family. I'm trying to build a company that reaches people all the way around the world. I get messages from people in, Iran, India, Australia, Canada, Argentina, like, the four corners of the world. Somebody lives on a houseboat off the coast of Alaska. They get mail once every 3 months. Somehow has an internet connection, and they've seen my tutorials. being able to send stuff out to people like that, people who, literally can't afford an education, who want to learn about some of this stuff. Being a little bit of a channel for people like that is amazing, obviously. But also just building that larger company and turning it into a huge company, maybe a media empire. A lot of it is the whole. It's all so fast moving, right? I can't say like, here's my 5-year plan. I've never had a 5-year plan. I'm doing good if I have a 5-week plan.
Yeah, I feel you on that.
So it's kind of like my plan is to be as open to change as possible, because therein I think lies the most success. And I forget who it was that said it, but like you don't really know where you were headed until you get there, and you can turn around and look back and see all the way everything kind of connected together. Like even if you feel like you're grinding out and spinning your tires, you're on your way to the next something. You just don't know what that is yet. So don't give up and think that you've hit the end and everything's a big failure. It's not that at all. Very often, 6 months later, you're going to turn around and say, "Oh wow, shoot, man, good thing I didn't stop. Good thing I didn't stop doing X, Y, or Z, because I'm glad with where I am now, or I've learned this new thing about myself." So yeah, for the company, it's just build a company. If right now my thought is turn it into a big media company that'll cover a whole variety of topics. I'd love to have the design and visual channel for my media company. Love to have the sports channel. I'd love to have the cooking and home channel. I'd love to do something with regard to real estate. I would love to do something with regard to biz dev and money and investing and that kind of thing. I would love to do maybe even have like a philosophy related channel. Branch out with the philosophy and literature. Maybe I love I love reading. Get some of that stuff involved. So build a company like that, and there's always ways to monetize, and there's always people are valuable. Like I don't know how else to put it. Just knowing people, reaching out and meeting more and more people is going to help your business in some, like this interchange between you and I is going to be beneficial for both of us in some way. How exactly, I can't even tell you right now, but who knows?
The people.
Right. Well, right. And of course, and for anybody who listens to it, hopefully, if they've stuck around this long.
If you guys did stick around this long, again, you are my favorite type of people.
As Justin tells me, we have surpassed an hour. So, that's the plan for the company. The plan is really that there's no plan. It's just, it's stay open to change, do what you love for as long as you can do it. And I don't see it ending anytime soon, because ultimately what I love is building businesses. So even if Tutvid were to disappear tomorrow, I would just wake up the next day and start a new company. And whatever that would be, it would, it's whatever I feel like doing. And that's just, if you know how to solve a problem, it doesn't matter what problem there is, because you will solve it. And that's the way I look at everything to do with the business. I don't care if I can't see how something will work. I'll make it work. That's 100, and that's not being like a
narcissist.
Yeah, or like a pretentious, cocky, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
I don't look at it that way at all. It's just a way of operating. It's not even I'm better than you. I think it's something anybody can do. I don't think it's talent. I think it's hard work more than anything else. And I still don't feel like I work nearly as hard as I could or I should.
No,
that's a daily struggle. Is just, man, I wasted that hour. I have the stack of Post-it notes here. I've logged every single day I've worked since August of 2015 when I decided to restart the channel. I have this huge, thick stack of Post-it notes. And I know, and every week I log my averages for the week. I've averaged this many hours of work a day, this many hours of playtime, this many hours of other activities. This is how many hours I've slept. I keep track of so many. I've turned like into a fanatic about keeping track of these numbers. But what it does is it helps you just slowly get better and slowly say, you know what? So what if I work 14 hours a day? Like, isn't it better to work 8 hours a day if I'm fully locked in the zone, 8 really good hours of work rather than 14 so-so hours of work, right? Yeah. But wouldn't it be the best if I could work 14 hours where I'm really locked in? So like that's the kind of stuff that I'm working on.
So So where can people? So what's the best way for people to reach out to you now, to support you on that, and just to follow and keep up with you? I know you have tutvid.com. What are you focused on? Where are you at the most for people?
Instagram is probably the best, just at Tutvid.
Yeah.
But you can also get me on Twitter, where I'm also at Tutvid. You can also get me on Facebook, where I'm facebook.com/Tutvid. You could go to
tutvid.com. Your YouTube channel.
Yeah, and of course, YouTube.com/Tutvid. Subscribe if you think you'll be interested in the videos, and hopefully I deliver stuff that you really like. And
I think a lot of people, if you're watching me, then definitely check it out. You probably enjoy.
At the very least, I do 2 Premiere Pro tutorials a week,
Yeah.
and there's gonna be 1 After Effects tutorial every other week, and that's just where we are currently before I get like a full-time writer in here and we can really start banging away at stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just have fun with it, man. You know, you just got to ride with it, have fun, stay up late, work late.
Yeah, we're both night owls for sure. But yeah, so go check him out. Go definitely give Nathaniel a follow. I think you're almost at 10K on IG. We'll get you to.
I'm like
we'll
100.
get you 10K.
I think I'm 100 short of it. Maybe by the time this podcast comes out,
you'll be
I'll
there for
cross
sure
10,000.
without my help.
Let me see where I am. Yeah, I'm less than 150 short of 10,000, which I'm waiting for that 10,000 because I want.
I think you can swipe up.
Throw that, yeah, exactly. Throw that link in the Instagram story, which every click counts.
But thank you so much for coming on. First guest honors complete. Now I can check that off, and we can continue the podcast, and hopefully I keep doing episodes of these. So thank you, man. I much appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate
Any final words? I
appreciate you having me. And I don't know if you've ever looked at who watches your videos, how many, like the percentage of subscribed versus unsubscribed. But for me, it's like 75% of the views I get are unsubscribed people. So for anybody who's listening to this that isn't subscribed to Justin,
I forgot
all you have
to
to
give
do
my
is,
outro.
is slide that little mouse button down to that subscribe button and click it. And anytime he makes a video in the future, it'll show up in your little subscription box on YouTube. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
I forgot to give my outro, so I guess to end this off, I should say, if you don't know me, Justin Odisho here on the channel. I make daily creative videos, so you can subscribe to my channel here, check out more of the podcast, and follow me on Instagram and Twitter as well, everywhere on the web, really, at Justin Odisho, which you'll find all in the description. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next podcast episode and other videos, and I'll see you next time.